Apotheosis, epidemic poetry, rap game boulevard, righteousness as prescribed, giving all minds elevation, building life versus death. The poet, Carlos, lyric out,
the microphone bounty hunter.
I heard that he'll grab the mic, run up on the Kansas City smack man selling that government shit on some OG Bobby Johnson killer writing shit. Put the research potato at the end of it, blow his mind with poetic words, so building life versus death is silently said. The grammar ammunition was Parkland 38 special. How low will a poet go, aiming at the listener's head? Dipped in his creative, poetical, biblical thoughts, pausing it was said that he let soak for 6 days on the wordplay lid, and let it dry for a day so the deadly rhyme scheme can spread. Put the complete sentence, extended clip into the open mic the vendor fed. Cock his vocals with these hollows straight to the point, biblical words in red, and spit 7-minute rounds of silent poems at your head. I'm different is what the poem stated, where the Christian ways became the target known as the Walking Dead. The wordplay was paused and wrote the poetry quote, 38 special Hebrew Jew concocted, paraphrase, forgotten about, historical hot lead. Warning, you're about to enter the light. The paragraphs, I heard it was killer what he said. So tell the listeners to ask the false image, white Jesus, about the pagan holiday massacre, on what Rudolph came back to the North Pole on the south side of the Vatican and said. Don't quote me on this, but I heard that Jesus at midnight when the solstice walked up, Queen Sexy Black Pen and Princess Patricia Paper was masked up. Extended clip mics cocked with biblical wordplay led. A thought in the chamber, poetic shots fired at the listeners, facts all to the head. 1 minute they killed everybody on the White House rooftop, so I heard Rudolph jump back in the sled, signal for survivors. Left with the chief elf and back to the true north they fled. 6 minutes later, Jesus and them showed up. Eyes was as flames of fire red, and all around the Vatican churches, the old and young Catholic teachings lay dead. The conniver and the liar was murdered for what the puppet master provided America, for what the false prophet called the Pope said. The fire of the emerald lights that Christmas night. The poem he made me recite. December 31st, everything Sexy Black Pen wrote was in YHWH read. Word Wide War 1. The poem that Jesus, the microphone bounty hunter, and I, Carlos lyric ouchie read. Documentation recalling 6 days ago when Santa Claus took 2 deadly poetic verses to the head.
Ooh, it was ice, baby. Where the listener asked the other listeners, did you hear what the fuck he said? So how low can the poet go with these historical points putting lies to bed?
With pronouns and adjectives of hot, straight to the point, dipped in poison, righteousness as prescribed, building life versus death, wordplay led.
Where poetry compositions that was wrote was used to ask the other listeners, did you read what the Most High Yahweh Elohim, our Father in heaven, said? The commandment to the angel to write the Torah for Yahweh Elohim's creation of man, on what he said, laws that was given to Moses to put Egyptian lies to bed.
But if you got 2 eyes, you can see that we as a people didn't pay attention to the biblical words we read.
Somehow started to praise Hail Zeus and go to Sun God Sunday worship instead. But as revelation go, when particular words like the Sabbath should stick out in your head, the do's and don'ts on what Moses came down the mountain, presented in stone tablets, established to the people. Then he read about what our salvation for 40 days and 40 nights said.
But when Seth made ways and what another man said, the people started abiding in the pride of them. Man made tales of the gods, times past, and for we the people things got grim.
Isaiah for 65 days and 11 hours in front of the Hebrew Jews was preaching to them about the name change of fortune, the sun god worship, the beast of Daniel, the evil introduced to them.
Tell the reader that the word true meaning in the verse was used in a deceptive way.
Trickery is what I say to them, a false worship by the many hands of Satan, the wrong made right, the evil that was given to them. As in the days of Noah, so shall the end be, and by circumstances as these trumped up times get grim, tell the listener poetry-wise, this is what Jesus and Rap Game Boulevard is giving to them.
No Babylonian deities named God involved deceiving them. It's just the word of the old that has always since the beginning been the one leading them. Born a man in the new by prophecy, YHWH revealed to them, coming back as he promised to Adam, the salvation that was given to them, the meaning of the terminology, monotheism.
Apotheosis, epidemic poetry, Rap Game Boulevard, righteousness as prescribed, giving all minds elevation, building life versus death. The poet, Jesus, the microphone bounty hunter.